So we got about an hour left until we make it to Moose's Enterprises in Troy, Pennsylvania. Bradford County, I think it is. Driving through the lovely Appalachian Mountains, central Pennsylvania. On our way to see Eric and most of his family, I believe, that works here at Moose's for this first ever Stahls TV Blue Print. We're, well, Josh, you talked to him a lot beforehand. What are we going to do today?
Well, looking forward to visiting the shop, hopefully understand some of what they're doing well and really where they'd like to take the business, and see if we can provide some tips really to help them get to the next level and grow, maybe solve some challenges that they may be having in the business.
It's always exciting when you get your first look into a shop. You never know what you're walking into. A lot of the shops we walk into as Stahls TV, there's lots of Stahls boxes everywhere, Transfer Express boxes everywhere. I think Moose's is relatively new to the Stahls family, so interested to see what we find out. I know they're using a lot of our CAD cut products currently, but they do a lot of other things, screen printing, embroidery. We'll definitely be taking a tour of the shop and just trying to learn more about their business and how we might be able to help them make some more money.
We had no idea what to expect, so we brought some of our favorite things. We have the Hotronix Fusion heat press, which is always a winner in shops. Right now we know that this shop does not have a Fusion, so maybe we'll go to that at some point in our journey. We have a auto open Hotronix cap press, which is usually a good little tool to add revenue and profit, and boxes full of samples and things that we believe we may go to, but we're going to take a look around before we pull anything out of the trunk here and see what can benefit their business. But we have some good ideas, I'd say.
We also have a great backseat driver.
Speaking of, just to be clear, we're an hour out. I drove the first 4 hours of this trip. As soon as the camera popped on, Zach decided to take the wheel to project the image of being in control here.
That's correct.
So we'll see you over at Moose's Enterprises. Should be there shortly.
Hey, how are you? Good. But it's, you know, this small corner, it's, yeah, the gas and oil. I mean, you got it down in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Same thing, that's what we were doing. Hats, glasses, gloves, you know, stuff like that. But we're not Fastenal or Granger where people are coming in, beating down our door saying, hey, I want this. It literally is, you know, you call up and, hey guys, you know, we need this, we take it, drop it off, and come back. So we started as that. The crack in the floor was what we had. We moved in here when we bought our first little printer. You know, so we needed to get out of the house. We needed to, you know, somewhere, you know, it was her house, so she was going to holler. You know, if we,
so you started in the home and then moved
here. We delivered everything. We didn't need a storefront. You know, just order and turn it. So sat here. You know, it was 24 by 24, and then we thought we hit a home run. We put this little nook on in the bag. And we said, "Watch out, world! Here we come!"
Yeah.
Which is where Jared's embroidery machines are now hiding. So don't mind the mess. It just we're in the process of adding on again. So two Bravos, yeah, Milko Bravos, yeah, keep them running. But yeah, this was the home run of, you know, 35 by 14.
Yeah.
Watch out, world. And then we added the second half on out there, and then the whole upstairs about a year and a half ago. So
okay, so it was it started as
safety supplies, and we bought a printer cutter because we couldn't turn around our stickers fast enough, and now we've got two embroidery machines, you know, our screen printer upstairs, a 60-inch, you know, Soljet, you know, Pro 4, and putting another edition on because if it's narrow-minded, I mean, you're like a horse with blinders on saying, we got to make stickers, hopefully it works.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted to sell to the gas industry, and
here we are, you know, schools and general public, and you know, wrapping vehicles and trailers and everything else. And our narrow-mindedness at that point was, I hope we can sell enough stickers to the gas industry to pay for the little printer. As you can see, Moose's Enterprises has experienced some rapid expansion in their business, going from just a small shop that's printing stickers for the oil and gas industry to doing all types of little things as we continue to walk through the shop.
Yeah, so we saw that they do heat printing, embroidery, screen printing, stickers and decals, vehicle wraps, ATV parts, and more. I don't even know if that covers it all, but they have a relatively small team doing a lot of different things. So the next thing we did was take a little while to understand how each player fits in.
First we met Tace. She greeted us as we walked in the door at her office reception area. Tace is Eric's sister and handles a lot of different things. She manages the bank account, handles most of the purchasing, especially of apparel items. She greets customers and does a whole lot more, according to most of the staff at Moose's.
Yeah, and then there's Jared. Jared is part owner of the business, along with Moose, who we'll meet next. Jared is also Tace's husband, so hopefully you're keeping up. He's a resident embroidery pro for the business and also pitches in on things like vehicle wrap, some customer service, and of course participates in business decisions.
Next is Sime, also known as Moose, so he's the namesake of the business. Sime owns the other half of the business and is Tace and Eric's brother. He is the resident screen printing pro and pitches in on many other areas. He also seems to have a lot of responsibility in pricing jobs, although most of the team is capable of doing this.
Okay, then there's Dustin. Dustin isn't part of the formal family, but is considered family, it seems. He's a longtime friend and key employee for the business, and he's been with them since the start on the apparel decorating and sticker side at least. Dustin is full-time artist and what seems to be full-time production as well. His plate is full and most of the jobs flowing into the business touch Dustin's hands at some point.
Next is Joe. Joe is a recent hire and really the first hire outside of the core group of family and friends. He is an extra set of hands pitching in on production. He spends most of his time primarily in the decal, signage, and heat transfer graphic creation portions of the business.
Yep, and then finally is Eric, who we've been speaking with so far. His formal role is sales manager, but he seems to pitch in on production regularly and is a key part along with the whole team on deciding where the business goes.
As you might imagine, it kind of took us the whole trip to get everybody's name right and exactly what they were doing, but we did pull it all together, and throughout the episode you'll see reminders of everybody's name and exactly what they do.
Yeah, so next we decided to take a look or a tour through the business and look at some actual production factors. So Eric introduced us to Jared, and we got to spend some time with him looking at the types of jobs that come through there and get detailed specifically on one job.
This is for Patriots in the Park. It's a local county park area that does a lot of different activities. They just did kids in the outdoors. They do Women in the Wild, but this one is for the Patriots in the Park. This event's coming up in 3 weeks, so we got a good jump on this. It's close to 200 polo shirts that they'll give to all the veterans, people like that come and enjoy the park for that day. Because usually vets like to golf. I like to golf, so yeah. You need a polo. This job, when we digitized it, it was 22,000 stitches and change, which took 25 minutes to sew out. So Dustin digitized everything upstairs, and when we first laid it out and did a stitch out on it, it looked great. It looked wonderful, but to do close to 200 shirts, it was taking. We knew that was going to take too long at 25 minutes plus per shirt. So what we did is we took the background stitch out of it and we cut twill. That way, instead of laying all this down in white thread, now we just trace it out, and I can trace it out for you here real quick. Cut it right in half. So now instead of 22,000 and change, we're down to 10,815.
So literally took the time to produce the whole job relatively in half.
Yep.
It's clear that Jared has done his homework on embroidery. He is almost completely self-taught. He has taken a few classes at industry trade shows, but he's taken the time to think critically about what makes an embroidery department successful. And here are a few of the key points that we can learn from Jared. First, maximize needle time. This needs to be a goal for you with your embroidery machine or with your embroidery department. The more that the needle is going through a piece of apparel, the more money you're making. Second, you can maximize profit per piece. There's two ways to do that. The first way, Jared and Moose's have done a great job of. They sold a performance polo instead of a t-shirt or a lower cost item to embroider on. The other way to do that is to minimize the amount of time you are sewing per piece. Again, Jared and Moose's, a great example here, taking an all direct embroidery file and switching it to applique. Think about it this way. On this order for 200 polos, with direct embroidery, Jared told us there were 22,200 stitches per garment. This would take a total machine time of about 25 minutes per shirt. Multiplied by those 200 shirts, we're looking at about 83 hours of production. By switching this design to applique instead of the fill stitch that it was originally, the stitch count was reduced to 10,815 stitches, which took us down to about 12.5 minutes per shirt, meaning 41.5 total hours for the job. The net gain is more profit, capacity, not only on the machine, but of Jared's time, which is very important to a small business like Moose's.
As we ventured outside of the growing embroidery area, we also found that they had their shop in order from an organizational standpoint, especially when it came to supplies. Details such as tagging their vinyl rolls, both heat transfer and signed vinyl, by product name and color. Things like holding the rolls closed with clips rather than tape. Floor standing material racks for wider vinyl and media. Every accessory and tool inside of Moose's Enterprises had a place, and that place had a labeled name. Also a dry erase board near the printer cutter to help keep jobs in order. This was also by the screen printing area. Color reference charts hanging on the wall. Even the positioning of the laminator in front of the printer helped to reduce operator travel when they were taking a job from one machine to the next. And the screen printing area was perhaps the cleanest that we've seen, with inks organized and labeled on shelves, screens neatly kept, and no mess on the floor or machine from inks. The only place where we saw room for improvement was the showroom, and we're not even sure that was an organization issue, more of a presentation challenge due to the depth of products offered. This place is doing a ton of things right, but where they're not, they're interested to fix it.
While we weren't really able to uncover a lot of challenges in our first couple hours at Moose's Enterprises, one thing that Eric brought to our attention was some issues that they were having with scorching at the heat press on these performance fabrics that they were decorating.
Yeah, and this was really a big challenge for Moose's Enterprises, and they're not alone in this because we hear from a lot of apparel decorators, heat printers, screen printers, direct-to-garment printing folks that they have issues with scorching garments and leaving marks. And I think this is due to the popularity and the growth, the rise of performance apparel, number one, synthetic fabrics in the construction of performance apparel, and then fashionable t-shirts. So you start to even have this issue on things like tri-blends or fashionable fabrics.
And no matter what the fabric is, when it comes down to heat printing, it never moves away from the three fundamentals of time, temperature, and pressure being what we need to control to make good heat applications. So we decided to start with temperature at Moose's.
Which, I mean, you're good there. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to kind of watch you guys.
Yeah, should be good. Did you shoot it?
I did. So it's been set at 280 for probably the last 3 to 5 minutes while you guys were talking. And my gauge on the gun has gone as low as 273 all the way up to 290. Just over the past 3 minutes, just shooting it at different times. So right now, we're good. 278, 280, 277.
And so that's just through
282.
it trying to keep temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously I got to go a little hotter to come back up to.
Right.
Yeah. What?
Well, show me how you're loading it.
While we did find a variance in the range of temperatures that the heat press was achieving, we didn't pinpoint that to a press problem. It was actually the way that they had the press plugged in. They had it plugged into a power strip, which
really isn't recommended at all. You should have it plugged directly into a dedicated 20 amp circuit to maintain the temperature that it's supposed to.
So with temperature ruled out, the next logical step was to see Eric actually load a garment. I want to see the process as you do it now.
It's pretty straightforward. I just kind of use the collar as the guide at the top. You know, so I know, hey, whether I'm going on the back, if I'm doing it on the back, it's still the same for me. It seems to line up. I just take and I'll run, say, okay, hey, I'm right there, I'm just over the edge. That kind of gives me my area, you know, across the back of the shoulders. I mean, in this situation, it's going to be
a front plate.
It's going to be a front. It's the same deal. You just get my collar there, and then I just kind of watch here, and then I'll hold out here on the sides and just say, it's as close as you're going to get. I mean, it's not ever perfect, but you just get it squared up, and then from there we put the applique on, cover sheet, press it.
While there's some opportunity for improvement with how they load on garments to make it quicker, nothing is inherently wrong that says there's going to be a scorch mark issue. I mean, Eric had the back collar of the shirt draped off, he had a flat pressing area, which is key. So the next step we really need to move to is having him throw his cover sheet on and complete an application for the time setting at that temperature. 8-second application. I gave a 9 because it seems to engage a little bit early, just to give you that second to get it clamped. Let's just see if we have anything. So you're getting a little bit of a darkening mark there. Would you call that sellable?
I mean, we're our own worst critic. I mean, we look at stuff and like, I don't know. And you show other people, like, that thing looks incredible.
Right.
You don't see, like, I mean, personally, I'm looking at it and you can see a line all the way around the thing. I would say no, but, you know, and that's the fight we have. I mean, you can see a big box, you know. Being in our situation and knowing, look, hey, this is a scorch mark, you know, we're more critical now when we go out and look at stuff too. So if we were to see that, or, you know, come on, you know, what are you doing? But that's where the general public doesn't realize
necessarily perceive it
that, hey, this is even a bad thing. And I guess, that's what I'm saying. Like, at that temperature, I mean, there's, you can see the mark on the bottom. The further away you are, the less visible it's going to be, but who's going to know? So how do we eliminate? I guess that's probably my biggest thing is how do we get away from that? How do we eliminate that?
So two things are absolutely clear after this application. We have scorch marks on this performance polyester, and we also have a struggle within Eric and a few of the members of the business about whether this product is actually sellable.
It's a fair struggle because one of the things that Eric told us is that Moose's strives for top quality products, and in almost every case delivers top quality products. So they're right to question this result because we all clearly see there's a scorch mark and we're trying to solve this issue, and that's really our job, is to try to solve this for them. And the last thing we need to look at is the pressure component. So I think what I'd like to do is bring the other heat press back up and sort of heat it back up. The Fusion, we brought one in the front. So if we could heat that one up and then try the same exercise just when we have an actual pressure readout, just to ensure, we can use the back of the shirt or just move it down slightly so we can see a new line. And then run that for the application.
I mean,
And so that's exactly what we did. We went out to the truck, got the Fusion heat press, brought it upstairs. Eric began to gather the team around and bring them up to speed on the issues that we were trying to solve.
Did you show them your iron? How it was burning?
That's what we're trying to figure out. Like, what is the?
So, that's
Because based off from time, temperature, pressure, are we like, is our firm or our medium? Was one of the questions, like one of the last things that we have. Like, are we pushing too hard in comparison? But like, if you lock this down and you pull that, which obviously the way the actuators and the cams work are going to give you a different feel regardless. But
this one actually has the digital readout right on the screen, so when you turn the knob and load your shirt, but when you lock it in, it'll give you a readout on the screen from a 1 to 9. It'll tell you exactly the pressure reading. So
And
at
it
least-
doesn't, you don't have to turn it down like you,
No, you don't got to get on it.
no, just a quick little turn.
yeah.
So what we're talking about here is a pretty big deal, having the ability to measure the pressure being applied. And it seems so simple, like you should have the ability to do this, but the reality is a lot of heat presses don't. And if you were to ask 3 different operators to give me a medium pressure on that garment, depending on their strength and leverage, it's going to be different across all of them. So being able to digitally measure the pressure is going to really impact us being able to pinpoint pressure as leaving the scorch marks or not. So we're going to go through that, but first we wanted to run through some of the other features of the Fusion since this is their first time seeing it.
And then the other thing that you'll notice as you start to get into, the shirt isn't as bad, but as you start to get into different constructions like V-necks or something and you want to do a back print, with just being able to load and thread it on here.
Here we can, oh yeah, we got,
So make sure I clear that. Just if you do a lot of front and back prints, having the ability to sort of split it on, catch it. And so now all of my excess seam structure's hanging underneath, so you don't get the print through from the collar, the V-neck, any seams will be underneath, especially when you get into
we'll see
youth
once in a
shirts.
while when you're pressing, you'll see the ring of the collar, the
Press
way
through.
we're pressing.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can lace to a degree with this, but you'll see the mark of the collar alone.
So I think that's definitely going to be a benefit to what we call threadability. And then also if you do a lot of front and back prints, just being able to spin the shirt on press for, speed issues. Making sure you drape it off. And then I don't know what I think the plat change is a little more cumbersome on that one. With this one, you just got the leather.
This doesn't, I don't like.
It's solid.
Yeah,
Will weld it.
yeah, this is,
Yeah, this one's just, you pop
I
the,
mean, there's a thing in here, but they don't know.
That goes to a grenade.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, we don't have that, which is one of, there we go.
you print a lot of ladies in youth shirts or slimmer cut, like you see the tri-blends going in the different styles and garments. Even the Maya grid that you have on display down there where you have a leaner cut to it, that's going to help you because you can get this. We have a bunch in the truck I need to bring in, but 11 by 15 inch or
Right, I've seen all the different platinums, the hats, the sleeves, the legs,
Yeah.
the smaller one. Yeah, if we were to be pressing a hoodie, like how we're doing the back, but for your smaller imprint area, so you're getting rid of seams.
So do you want to try to press one of the transfers at that
Yeah,
288
yeah.
size on the front?
Now it's time for the big test. We're going to invite Eric over to the Hotronix Fusion to experience an application.
This is a whole new. I've lost my visual now.
Hey.
Like, I'm used to basing it off the back 2 rails and the collar, so roughly like this.
It's actually going to help him. You're going to let him drown.
Oh, I'm not
going to
let him drown.
So
Good rule of thumb. We're going to pull this off to where your seam isn't raised up there. We
Yeah.
don't have that area. So we're going to pull that off and we're going to give it 4 fingers down from the top. And that's pretty much
I'm gonna leave that alone.
where it's going to work.
And you can do, if you want to find the center of this, just on a simple, if you have the time for it, even as you're weeding them and trimming them apart, just on a back-to-back crease. So you get
Okay.
that center line then. So now when you place it down. you have
Okay,
the
if you're
center
going
mark.
furthest point to furthest point,
Yeah.
And then we can lift here.
right, kind of get the offside of your shirt, right?
Yeah.
That's neat. How many times have we not creased that over?
70.
1,000.
Yeah, and you want, just let me, I'm sorry, I messed up. You want to make sure that you cover this,
Oh,
because otherwise, this only fits the one way.
And this is a bigger.
Yeah, you get the 16 by 20 heater.
So this is it, the moment we've been waiting for to see if digital pressure solved the scorch mark issue. But remember,
drum roll could be appropriate here.
could be in order, but remember this is Eric's first time with the new press, so we had a few other questions to answer before we see the results. I think it turned into more than a few, a little bit.
Now, why does what is the one? Actually, we have one hidden out back.
The
It doesn't, it doesn't open up.
It's a terrible spot for it.
Like this opens up though, and like you can
Just to protect your fingers when you're loading, is that what
oh,
you
when
mean?
you're trying, basically when you're trying to put it in, I guess part of it too is, I don't think you can thread that like you can this. So as we've been doing that, we're going up here, that opens up more. We've got a better visual for alignment. So I mean, that's kind of the way that was.
So a couple things. I really love this part. It's a classic moment on the visit because I think that Eric likes the press a lot, but the salesperson in him has him negotiating perhaps and trying to minimize the press in some way, so maybe he can get a better price. I don't know.
Yeah, the press that he's actually talking about, the one that's in the back or in the closet, is a Hotronix auto clam press that they purchased, I believe, a couple of years ago,
Right.
before the Hotronix counter caddy and the floor caddy was available, so that it doesn't have the same threadability without those add-on features. And he's definitely using it as a negotiating tactic, I think.
Yeah, so we're still waiting on that finished application, but first I'll try to explain to him about the floor stand option. A couple things. If you're more comfortable, loading that press upside down, because so you don't get in at the back of the heater.
Right.
For placement, we actually have just a little counter stand or a freestanding stand if you want to be able to wheel it around that you can mount that to. And then you can split and thread it on. So you can effectively make that a threadable machine like this, that cantilever design. Just with a countertop stand or a freestanding stand that's you can height adjust to whoever's operating. Because that's something else I noticed when you were loading this one earlier. It seemed like you were pretty far down.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what we have here as far as the table is what we're using. Making I guess the best of the situation.
Oh no, I get it. Yeah.
Which this is, we're 4 or 5 inches tall. It does make it nicer, but just having that kick out of the way is, for me, I mean, I would just learn how to press upside down. I just haven't because,
You could probably help with
Straight
how to
press.
print
I
upside
was
down.
gonna say, straight
You're an
press
expert at that.
well, he got to learn that real quick. So, yeah, I mean, this is, I guess that's what it is, it's right there.
Good.
I think so.
What did he say? I'm pretty sure. I had to listen to it a few times, but I'm pretty sure it was. But I followed up with the question, is that good? And you clearly heard him say, I think so. So not quite ready to give in. We haven't negotiated final terms on the heat press, but the proof was in the pudding when they printed the rest of the job on the Hotronix Fusion. So with most of Eric's concerns addressed, we wanted to bring over Moose onto the heat press so he could actually see it work. And this will give you perspective of a newer operator using a press for the first time.
You want to give this thing a spin, Moose? It's right up your alley. Where are you going, front? Yeah, front. So we need one more big one. That's heated.
Yeah.
Ah,
We get you set up for just a 2-second preheat first. If you want to
alright.
lock the press down before you place the transfer for 2 seconds.
Someone showed me a special trick about 15 minutes ago. How to find your center in here. I think it's creasing right over. What do we do here?
Well, we got you on.
Yeah, you're good.
Rock and roll with it. Just lock it down all the way. And then it'll turn green and be when you need to push it back over center and swing it back.
Alright. So that wasn't,
You're good.
how, I guess it didn't matter because I already put
Yeah, you just gotta go all the way up. That's good.
that's gonna take a lot to get used to. And you said something about a preheat. That didn't do a 2-second preheat?
Yeah, usually when you load the garment on, it's sort of optional on polyester, but we always recommend a, quick preheat just to get it flattened, but that was pretty flat.
Alright.
So I think we have it programmed to have a 2-second dwell, so as soon as you load it on, if you lock it down for 2 to 3 lines of transfer.
Now, is that 2 seconds just across the board kind of standard thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of production shops are typically 3 to 10. It's just something that we've always thought, because we do like, to be honest, there's times that they do, a lot of shops that do
Oh. Yeah, my 2 seconds is there now.
Hey, you're not using your cover sheet.
Yeah. They didn't see that.
Okay, hang on. You hit it already. We don't want to go too hard on it.
You see all the mistakes he covers in over. One thing you can't fix.
Scorch mark issue solved. Absolutely. But Eric, rightfully so, has another concern as they get into printing this job.
Right.
And in theory, at 280, that's not going to bleed.
So here's the thing on that. The material, obviously you're picking this because it's soft, stretch, it feels the best. Customers just think it feels better.
Right.
But it doesn't have a dye blocker at all.
Right.
So you always run the risk of a polyester, if there's unstable dyes in it, bleeding or migrating.
Right.
It's just a risk. So there's 2 ways to it.
And that's why the lower temperature is supposed to help keep that from...
It's a Band-Aid. Eventually it'll fall off. This goes out to a customer, they leave it in the windshield of a hot car or run it through a hot dry cycle. It's going to bleed if the dye's unstable. So there's 2 ways to address it. Number 1 is you test one garment in every job to see if it's going to bleed and basically run it through a dry cycle. Or even run it through the screen print dryer to see if it's going to bleed after it's been applied.
Okay.
The other option would be in your sourcing of the garment. Sanmar carries what they call posi charged garments, and so I'm not sure if this one is posi charged.
Yeah, I don't know right offhand.
If it is, basically that means that it's highly, highly unlikely to bleed. So you can use the lightest weight material. So if you ever have like a white print on a red, see if in the sourcing of the garment you could order the posi charge. It's basically a cationic polyester instead of the typical polyester. And so
Which means it's inherently...
they go through the work to make sure it's not going to bleed on you. So it's safe to screen print, safe to heat apply the lightest film to.
Okay.
And most of their line at this point is available in posi charge, and they sell.
Okay.
You're going to pay a little bit more for the blank, but it's going to be worth it because you'll have the quality that you were talking about earlier.
Right.
So let's review. We gave Moose's Enterprises 2 ways to combat dye migration or bleeding polyester. Number 1 is address it through the fabric. Source a polyester garment that's guaranteed not to bleed or highly unlikely, such as Sanmar's Posi Charge line, a cationic polyester. Secondly, conduct testing prior to going in production. Test one garment from a batch, run it through the screen print dryer or through your home dryer to make sure you're not going to experience bleeding with the product combination. One we didn't cover on site, but is a third solution, is by purchasing a dye inhibiting transfer with a special charcoal layer for inhibiting dye migration. The reason we didn't go into this on site is because they were already committed to that style of heat transfer film. So the Hotronics Fusion has effectively solved at least 3 issues at the heat press so far. First was our scorching issue, which we dialed into being a pressure issue. So we got that one solved.
Yeah, we also gave a best case scenario for inhibiting dye migration when it comes to printing polyester garments, and then got a couple operators, both Moose and Eric, comfortable with lining graphics up on the press and loading upside down.
But we have one more kind of speed bump to get over, and at the end of this job, they completely switch garments on us. It's not a performance polyester anymore. It's not even an adult garment. We have a youth cotton t-shirt that we need to apply with the Premium Plus.
Yeah, this guy.
How big is your transfer?
5 inches, 5.5.
Okay, so we have,
I could have gone a little bit bigger. I was thinking it was a little bit. That'll fit right.
so here, there's that lever underneath. We just want to unlatch that all the way. And then the platen comes straight off, sort of corner to corner on the grab is the easiest.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay, now grab that
I
front.
wasn't expecting that much weight in it actually.
Drop that one on.
And is that just absorbing that much heat from this, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not that sponge we got. It's just not near as amazing.
Yeah, it keeps, well, and
It actually felt like it was preheated. It was so warm.
yeah, anytime you throw a new attachment on, since it's going on cold, you should always preheat it just to warm it up. And then of course, we switch platen, so you want to dial back into pressure.
Right now, because it's 6 right now or 5 right now. I mean, because are we half the size? What size is the platen?
11 by 15 versus 16 by 20 is approximately half.
Okay, so
A little bit
basically
less.
everything we're going half on, so we need to go down to 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, because it's applying the pressure to less of the surface.
All right.
51%. 51%, so pretty close to half. Yeah.
Okay. Now, like right now, we're sitting on the press side of things without the pre-press. Do you have to let that run through its cycle then? I mean, do we basically need to pull this down and let it go?
You can, once you get used to this, like I don't program a preheat, I just run the temperature and I'll just lock it down for a couple, and as long as it doesn't complete its dwell, it'll just keep resetting to the same.
Well, yeah, that's what it was doing. That's why I was trying to get back to the pre-press, and I hit it for a couple seconds because you hit it, it'll just flip back and reset to
because
whatever the
that
time
one
is.
engages sort of as soon as you come about halfway over center. This one, it actually has to expire until it resets. Yeah, and you just need to sort of open the throat of it up a little bit because you're hitting the, there you go.
That's it.
Do you want to preheat?
Yeah. You're gonna really not preheat too much.
Let it breathe. Let it go.
Oh.
Now you got it. We'll say, I guess, 0. And I think you probably realized it by now, but red cotton t-shirts turn this really nasty dark shade of red. Everything's okay.
First time we ever pressed a red shirt, we thought, like, dude, what is this thing?
What are we gonna
None
do?
of the other ones did it. And then magically it comes back to red. We're like, okay, we didn't, ruin the world. And that's it.
Yep.
Probably could have gone a little higher on that one.
So that's it. We've completed the job and we learned a lot along the way, and we're able to share a fair amount of tips and tricks. Really, at the beginning of this visit, we got on a roll looking at production, things that were going well and challenges both in embroidery and in the heat printing department.
But the company as a whole was really clear with us coming in that they had bigger goals. They want to double their sales and they want to double their profits.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the top goals of many of the folks there.
So there's a lot more that needs to happen with our visit at Moose's Enterprises. There's a lot more details to dig into from a business perspective and not just the hands-on operations. But we're saving that for our next episode, so you have to tune back in to this Blueprint series.
Thanks for watching.
Next time on the Blueprint, we break out the shovels and try to dig to the root of the big picture challenges at Moose's Enterprises. With the lofty goal of doubling sales and profits in mind, some things will have to change. We catch up with Taste to understand how Moose's measures their current success, and we deal with some difficult questions about how to price jobs and how to say no to some of their best customers. What's it really going to cost Moose and his family to blow the roof off of their sales goals? The answer might surprise you. Tune in next time for more of The Blueprint.